The LA Clippers concluded their 7-game Grammy road trip with a game that was a polar opposite of their Sunday game against the Miami Heat. An offensive shootout in the ATL, and the Clippers once again came out on top. How were they able to switch up the style and still find a way to win on a second night of a back-to-back and go 6-1 on this trip? Who were the keys? Gonna be talking about it all on today's Locked On Hottest Team in the League, Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clippers. Oh, man, I butchered that one. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA. And in my 19th season as a Clipper fan, you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. And Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And I just want you to let me know, what was your favorite win of this road trip? Because, man, there's 6 great choices. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Clipper Nation, that was the best Grammy trip that I remember in my 19 years as a fan. 6-1. I predicted 5-2. And again, this Clipper team exceeds my expectations. This is uncharted territory it looks like we're going towards, ladies and gentlemen. The first seed is there for the taking. We are 34-15. One more win gives us the same record as the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder at 35-15. I saw some record predictor thing based on strength of schedule. The Clippers have the best chance in that. I think it was ESPN that ran that, of getting the first seed. I mean, I don't really know what to say, except for we got to keep taking this advantage of this opportunity from a health perspective. There's no one playing better than us right now. We've never been in the realm of a 1 seed. Never. And I definitely don't think before the trade, even though I was high on the team that we had, don't think we would have been able to be in 1 seed territory. So if we get the 1 seed, it doesn't even need to get to the playoffs. That right there validates everything about getting James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. I'm going to be talking about how good they were in this game. 2 straight nights. It was the Kawhi and James show, and what ended up putting us over the top. But what's amazing about this Clipper team is, as I've kept saying, it's not just building winning habits, it's making winning a habit and finding ways to win however it may be. And there have been so many times this season. I honestly haven't said this because I really have always trusted Kawhi and Paul George for the most part to just get us games if they're healthy. But there have been times, so many times this season, where people have said, I don't think we would have won that game last year. And last year I would tend to agree, because last year was just a terrible season. But 2021, 2020, I mean, I definitely felt more confident, way more confident in those 2 seasons, regular season-wise, than 2023. I think 2023 was just a complete outlier from Ty Lue to just, and when I say outlier, I mean outlier season of this 2-on-3 era with Kawhi. You know, even that season without Kawhi was more pleasant than last season. Last season was just terrible. So I definitely agree with those people, but the frequency in which people are saying we would have lost this game last season is crazy. I feel like I'm hearing that from someone or seeing that on my Twitter timeline every single win that's kind of close. And I guess it just goes to show that the Clippers are finding ways to win, whether it's a slugfest like against Miami or this game. And you know what I think the biggest reason is? 1, talent, 2, health, but 3, and honestly, you could argue this is 1, the tone that Kawhi sets. He can be the defense guy, and he's always the offense guy these days. And in the rare games, and they are rare, that Kawhi is not shooting decently, you got Paul George, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell to pick up the slack. And then around them, as I've said, even though we did trade 2 very solid defenders in size, in Nico and Rocco, we still don't really have any bad defenders in our rotation like that outside of Norm and Harden. And to be honest, those 2 have really held their own this season. Especially James, to be fair. Although I will say this. Norman Powell, I have less moments where I say, come on, Norm, defensively than James, but James plays a lot more. And the book is out with Harden on defense. Like, teams are going to go at him much more than Norm. But this game, ladies and gentlemen, the defense on both sides was pretty horrific. I think this is a great example, though, of why it's so hard to guard in the modern NBA. You get a great pick-and-roll guy like Trae Young or James Harden, and when you're not switching everything, and by the way, switching does create natural mismatches. So if you can switch everything and have guys that are good enough to guard these elite guys one-on-one, then that's how you kind of take away the advantages created on modern pick-and-rolls. But if you don't switch, and if you play, drop coverage or you blitz, you are going to give up something. Even as good as your rotations can be, these are NBA players, and they're putting 4 non-bigs on the court. That's the modern philosophy for spacing. It's very hard to defend. Trae Young, one of the best in the business. Clippers came out blitzing him. Obviously, Terrence Mann was the primary defender. We had PG on DeJounte, Mason on Onyeka Okongwu, no Clint Capella in this game, Harden on Sadiq Bey, and Kawhi on Jalen Johnson. But we were blitzing Trae Young, trying to get the ball out of his hands. He's always obviously going to make the right play, and he was finding his guys, and the Atlanta Hawks were scorching, and I mean scorching hot from 3 in this game. 20 for 39 from 3, 51% on the game. It was tough. And the thing about Atlanta is, if you've been paying attention to them this season, they don't guard at all. They recently allowed a 72-point game, or was it 73 points to Luka Doncic, and they were involved in that ridiculously high-scoring game with Indiana earlier this season. They don't play much defense. But I'm disappointed in several games for the Clippers over this road trip that we just aren't looking good defensively. And mind you, Ivica Zubac was load managed in this game, or injury managed, whatever you want to call it. And I'm okay with it. That's why we have a guy like Daniel Tice who can just slot right back in and do his thing. But I think defensively we definitely need to, I don't want to say fix some things, but just pick up the intensity on that end. But in terms of this game, despite the fact that it wasn't my cup of tea, I don't like these games that are 140. It just feels too easy. It feels, obviously it speaks to the shot making of NBA players, but you can't. I've seen the Clippers defend very well this season, as early as last night, or as soon as recently as Sunday. So it's the second night of a back-to-back. We're at the end of a long road trip. Just get her done. Any means necessary. And that's exactly what they did. And that's what I'm loving about this team right now, is the versatility in which they're winning games. Slugfests. Games against good teams. Games against bad teams. Games against teams you should blow out, but you're not. Games that you are blowing out. Games that you shouldn't really be blowing teams out, but you are. Like Boston. I mean, however you slice it, this team is making winning a habit. 31-8. In the 39 games in which we've gone to a new starting lineup of moving Russell Westbrook to the bench, 31-8. We are now 34-15 on the season, 15-11 away from home, 6-1 on that Grammy trip, 26-5 in the last 31. And let me just say this. I'm looking around my Twitter timeline and looking on the TV, and everyone's starting to pile on with the love. Watch out for the Clippers. This might be their year. Every single team's fan base that plays us says the same thing after the game. If these guys can stay healthy this year, this might be the one, because Kawhi is damn good. I'm trying not to get too excited. I'm trying not to. But let me tell you something. If we get that 1 seed, that temper my expectations, don't get too excited, is going out the window, because I got to appreciate that. I got to live in the moment with that. I've never been able to appreciate that. The only reason why I'm tempering my expectations is because we've been at the 3 seed before. Like, we finished in the 3 seed. And no, I don't count 2020 where we finished with the 2 seed because we did not have home court advantage for real. So it does not count. I'm not saying that season doesn't count, but I'm saying that 2 seed does not count for me. 3 seed in 2014 and 2015, we had 56 and 57 wins. We might be able to reach that mark, but if we have less wins but get the 1st seed, I do not care. Different conference, different time. Just find a way. I'm just taking it one game at a time, though, and analyzing each one as they come, and I hope you're enjoying it. And coming up, we're going to be talking about Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, get into a little more of the specifics of this game, a shootout in which the Clippers found a way to win. 149-144. Clippers shot 58% from the field and 60% from 3. Oh, my God. 77% from the line. 21 for 35 from 3. That's crazy. We've really started to heat up from 3 as the road trip ended. And then the Hawks, 54% from the field, 51% from 3. 22 for 27 from the line, 81.5%. So both teams shooting absolutely lights out. Obviously, they have to shoot lights out when you have a score like that. And coming up, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. Let's talk about it. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some big-time bets. This weekend, I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm not a Niners guy. I'm a Rams guy. Not a NorCal guy. I'm a SoCal guy. It's more like no-cal. So I'm going with the Chiefs. But FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. It doesn't just have to be straight money line like that. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers, join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The NBA trade deadline is fast approaching, and Locked On Fantasy Basketball is your place for live reaction Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Subscribe to Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube today so you don't miss Josh Lloyd, the fantasy basketball GOAT, breaking down every NBA trade with analysis and insight you can only get from Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Clippers winning this one 149-144 to end the road trip 6-1. And the two guys I thought that led the way for the second straight game were James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. James Harden got the festivities going in the first quarter with 3 threes. We were hunting Trae Young on that pick and roll all game long, and at times they would hedge and recover with him, and there were times where he got stuck on the switch, and I thought we did a pretty good job going at him, and James Harden in particular. 9 points for James in the first to go along with 4 assists on 3 for 4 shooting, and all those shots being threes. So again, his 3-ball was falling in this one, and he was able to get by Onyeka Okongwu. So you started to see a little bit of that burst coming back, because I've been saying last couple of weeks he's been looking slower than he did in December. But the 3 balls falling, it's basically impossible to guard him, especially without fouling, which teams have always throughout his career had trouble with, and this game was no different. Terrence Mann also got us off to a pretty solid start with 6 points in the first on 3 for 3 shooting. Right place, right time. And you know what? The Atlanta Hawks went with Onyeka Okongwu in that high drop coverage. But look, it wasn't high enough because Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were just walking into threes. And then he started coming up a little higher. We started making that pass to Mason Plumlee in that short roll. And he was finding Terrence Mann really nicely. Mason had 2 assists in the first quarter. Kawhi Leonard had 8 points in the first quarter and played every single second of it on 3 for 5 shooting and 2 for 3 from deep. And Paul George had 5 points of his own in the first on 1 for 2 shooting from 3. So we were up 37-28 after 1. As I said, Trae was getting blitzed. We were in drop coverage on DeJounte Murray and then switching a lot throughout. And I will say Trae Young was doing a pretty good job of scoring when he did have those one-on-one opportunities. Just shows, how special of an offensive player he is. But we held him to only 2 points in the first quarter and 6 points in the first half overall. So we kept him at bay. But the problem was the other guys were making threes. No more than DeAndre Hunter, who was just absolutely ridiculous in this game. He's had a bunch of injuries this season, but he was very impressive with his shot making. 27 points, 7 rebounds for him on 10 for 12 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the line in 19 minutes. What the heck did I just read? 19 minutes? That was insane. That was insane. But on our side of things, Norman Powell, Russell Westbrook, Daniel Tice, I thought they all did a really solid job coming off the bench. Norman Powell had 13 points on 4 for 8 shooting and 3 for 5 from 3. I mean, it continues to be insanely efficient on a night-to-night basis. He only played 18 minutes in this one, but I'll take 50% from the field and 60% from 3 any day of the week. He was 2 for 3 from the line in this one. Amir Coffey, also really solid. I'll talk about him more in the third segment, but 13 points for him on 4 for 8 shooting and 2 for 4 from 3. So 50-50 shooting splits, 3 for 4 from the line. And then Westbrook, I thought he had his good and bad in this game, but he was really solid in the fourth quarter. I'll save his stat line for later. But James Harden, made some really great passes throughout the game in pick and roll, finding open shooters, just continuing to impress with the pass. I don't know how else to put it. Bounce passes, cross-court passes, all different types of passes, pick and roll mastery from James, doing a really good job. But in the second quarter, that's when it started to become a we can't guard fest. We couldn't stop anybody. I can't think of anyone, just like I said against the Detroit Pistons, who had a very good defensive game. I thought Coffey was good defensively. Russ in the fourth quarter. Everybody else, not that great. Not even Kawhi. Thought everybody was okay. And even Russ, until the second half, he was getting beat and fell asleep off the ball a couple times. James Harden, he had 2 steals and a block, but he was getting blown by left and right when he had to guard in space. It was bad. I mean, and then Mason Plumlee and Daniel Tice, they don't offer the same resistance that Ivica Zubac does. And the Hawks were just playing really well offensively too. And so we started to change our coverage and play a little drop coverage on Trae, because everybody was making threes, and then he was starting to cook, and then he got going in the second half. So it was tough. He still scored 25 points and got 12 assists. Thankfully, we did force 5 turnovers on him, but for the most part, Atlanta didn't turn it over that much. It was 11 turnovers for them, but I love that we only turned the ball over 8 times. That's huge. And, James Harden made that big-time 4-point play in the fourth quarter, but Kawhi Leonard, he does it again. Scoring one-on-one. I loved how we were trying to hunt Trae late in the game. There was that one time where Russell Westbrook had that high-low with Kawhi where he flashed the foul line and made that nice pass to him. Kawhi Leonard's 3 to put us up 137-130, that pump fake, little sidestep. Absolutely huge shot. Kawhi in the fourth quarter had 13 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists. James Harden, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block in the fourth, played every second of it. And Russell Westbrook had 7 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block in the fourth alone on 3 for 6 shooting. Big-time players do big-time things and make big-time plays. The second quarter was won by Atlanta, 38-29. I felt that the way they went to that 1-2-2 zone and went zone kind of messed things up a little bit, mucked things up for us. And Onyeka Okongwu started to switch on to Harden with Daniel Tyson because, again, teams are going to switch when Daniel Tice is in because he's not really a post player. He's a smaller center. So teams won't mind switching a wing or big guard onto him. And then if they're big, if they feel like they can stay with Harden, they'll willingly switch out to try to negate that pick and roll advantage. And as I said, the Hawks started making threes. But the fourth quarter, as I talked about, it was 47-43 in favor of the Clippers. Third quarter was 36-35 in favor of the Clippers. But man, that's a lot of points, 47-43. Kawhi Leonard continues to be spectacular. 36 points, only 2 rebounds in this game, which is rare. 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, only 1 turnover on 52% shooting. Actually, no, more. 65% shooting. Oh my God, my math was almost wrong there. Jeez. 13 for 20 from the field. 5 for 8 from 3. That's 62.5% from 3. 5 for 5 from the line. Are you kidding me? In 37 minutes. By the way, James Harden playing 38.5 minutes after playing over 40 minutes against Miami. I want his minutes lowered. But Ty's been riding with the hot hand when he's been hot. And he has been hot these last 2 games. But Kawhi, this is the best any player has ever played for the Clippers. Seriously. Like, I've seen the best seasons in the LA era. This is the best. I love Blake Griffin, but 2014 Blake and any CP3 was not like this. Kawhi's been healthy. He's only missed 4 games, and I'm still knocking. But what can I say? It's insane. I'm just hoping that this is the year he stays healthy in the playoffs because right now, dare I say it, I'm just going to keep pushing it. MVP, MVP. Those chants are going to be loud on Wednesday. And guess what? I'm going to be in the building. But coming up, going to talk a little bit more about the game, give you Harden and Russ's stat lines, and what changed the game in the fourth. Going to be talking about that coming up. This next segment is brought to us by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing this week. I'm going to tell you how I really feel about Kawhi Leonard's MVP case. Why the media is making a big mistake, not considering him enough because of team record. Why they're not considering him because of stats. I'll tell you, all right. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Just visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right. Clippers winning this one 149-144 in the A. Oof. It was a tough one. Teams were making everything. But I got to give a shout out to what really changed the game for me. And it wasn't Daniel Tice's buzzer-beating 3 at the end of the third, which was big time. The small ball lineup in the fourth. Now, we talked so much about the big four struggling together when they first made this move for Harden. And it was a god-awful fit, worse than I ever could have imagined in the starting lineup. But now we've had some success with those 4 on the court with a small Norm Powell, Amir Coffey in this one. And I assume that with Terrence Mann, it will work as well. It's because they can get more space. We get that athleticism, switch everything. Teams are always going to try to target James Harden over all those other guys. Maybe Norman Powell. But James Harden, one-on-one, depending on who he's guarding, he can really hold his own. And he can surprise people more than they think because he has got great hands. But that can work for the big four. It's when you have Zoo that the paint is really clogged. Naturally, you've given James Harden the keys to the offense in terms of dictating it, controlling it. So Russell Westbrook's value in that regard is very minimized. And even though James Harden has that nice connection with Russ on those lobs, the spacing's just not as good. You're also, when Russ gets the ball, he starts pressing a little bit. So I think that keeping that lineup away, Zoo in the big four, is good. But you're seeing the big four in spurts can go with these small units and work. And in this game, I thought that was good. You know, Russell Westbrook's ability to guard bigs and front them and make people pass it over the top and use his nuclear athleticism, which he still has at his age, to deflect passes. And, you know, he made a number of big plays in that fourth quarter. There's one play, I forget who he drove by for that inside hand layup with the right hand. It was just a really good fourth quarter performance by Russ in that small ball lineup, playing good D. And you started to also see Kawhi getting blitzed on the other end for the Clippers, and the Clippers making the right play. But yeah, we had to withstand the DeAndre Hunter, Trae Young push. And we tried to attack Trae Young on the other end plenty. We did. He was hedging and recovering on Kawhi, trying to do the same with Harden. Sometimes he got stuck onto him, as we saw that dagger 4-point play by James, which I really don't think it was a foul, to be honest. I don't know how James Harden gets some of the calls that he gets. It's really insane to me. Almost every time he shoots that step-back three or that pull-back three, it feels like he's going to actually either try to get fouled or get fouled. I'll take it absolutely because it's on my team now, but I am a little bit nervous about that stuff in the playoffs. He was incredible in this game, though. Absolutely incredible, and was in both of these games. Maybe James did have to just need some. I think he enjoyed his time in Miami and Atlanta, and I think his play was really good too. Maybe he just needed to go there for some revival. I'm joking. I don't know what he's doing in his personal life, but hey, who cares? Whatever he did, good job, James, because he absolutely killed it. Russ made big plays late, as I mentioned. And yeah, Clippers win it 149-144. How about this stat line from James Harden? 30 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists. So a second straight double-double. 2 steals and a block, 2 turnovers. He was a plus 11, shot 50% from the field, and 66% from 3. And how about this one? 100% from the foul line. 7 for 14 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, 10 for 10 from the line. It's not very often you see a Clipper player with double-digit free throw attempts, and that's one thing you can really hope that James Harden, even given the reputation for baiting for fouls and all that, will get the Clippers more free throw attempts this postseason. Great game from James. I think you can argue he was the player of the game. You know what? I'm going to go with James in this game over Kawhi. I think the way he was able to dictate the offense and just create so many good shots for us in this game, I'm going to go with James. And he really had it going from 3. So he's my player of the game. Mason Plumlee, he was pretty solid in this one. Defensively, he's not very good in my opinion. Doesn't really deter anything at the rim. Not good in space. But he's serviceable and does a good job at what he does. And that is rebound and finish at the rim. 8 points, 9 boards, 3 assists. Underrated passer as well. 1 steal, 1 block. 3 for 5 shooting in 21 minutes. 2 for 4 from the line. So as always, Mason keeping it efficient. Paul George, barely even talked about him. And that's the luxury of having a Kawhi, James Harden, a super team. Paul George can be relaxing and just get shots in the flow of the offense, and you don't need more from him. 18 points, but I needed a little bit better defense from him. There were a couple of times where even Mike Fratello called it out in commentary, just getting blown by a bit too easily. 18 points, 3 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 turnover on 7 for 13 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3, just 1 for 2 from the line. But Paul George, very solid, efficient game, and you can't hate on that. Only 1 turnover. As I said, the defense. Terrence Mann, 9 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 4 for 4 from the field, made his only 3, and I like that he clapped for the ball with James Harden. James Harden threw it to him after he clapped. I like that because remember when we lost to Boston in LA, Terrence Mann didn't even want any part of shooting an open 3. And now he's clapping for the ball. So just shows that his confidence is back. How about Russell Westbrook in this game? 13 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. 2 turnovers. 6 for 10 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3, so he didn't take that third. Love it, Russ. 1 for 3 from the foul line. That's a little disappointing. But 60%, I'll take that all day in 26 effective minutes, and he was a big part of that fourth quarter, and of course, which he played the whole entire quarter and was very good in the quarter. So Ty Lue, I think he's just hitting all the right buttons. I just don't want him to play James Harden too much to the point where he gets exhausted. Same kind of applies for Kawhi, but here's the thing. When you made that trade for Harden and you depleted our defensive front, like our bigger forwards, that backside rim protection, our power forward position, so to speak, you're just going to have to rely on Kawhi more. It just is what it is. But I love it because we're robbed of an entire season of Kawhi Leonard in 2022. And he looks as physically in shape as he has looked as a Clipper. I mean, he's playing as much basketball as he has as a Clipper, and he's playing as well as he has as a Clipper. His shooting splits are absolutely ridiculous, like it's a video game. And he's just playing so damn well. And the Clippers are as well. We're right there, ladies and gentlemen, and we're coming home. The boys are coming home. The boys are back in town. I can't wait to be back home on Wednesday because guess what? They're going to get a hero's welcome for the way they've been playing. There's something special in the air, Clipper Nation, and I'm just honored to be the voice of this show during this time. I really am. Whew. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Hit the notification bell because you know we are almost at 5K, and we want the number one seed being at 5K, right, on Locked On Clippers YouTube. So please go do that. Notification bell, everybody. Noti gang, where we at? Clipper Nation. I'll see you Wednesday. Let's go. Let me know what you think in the comments. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.